Deep breaths, Kevin. Deep breaths. Everything's going to be okay. Deep breaths.
Woosah.
Hey, y'all, how you doing tonight? I hope today was a little bit better for you. That's the goal every day, right? I don't think I'm ever going to be 100% healed, but hey, if I can be a little bit better every day, I'm going to take what I can get. If you don't know, my name is Keith Johnson. This is Invisible No More, even though on my monitor it says I am Nourish and Thrive Nutrition Counseling on the bottom. I am definitely, there we go. There we go. I'm definitely not Katie. Katie's a lot smarter. Katie has certifications. Katie went to college to know all the information that she shares on Wednesday nights. And I am, don't tell Dr. Leek, but I really enjoy, I tune in specifically for Katie because I've never had access to a nutritionist and how they could possibly help me change, I guess, lifestyle habits. So my pain might be a little bit less and my mental might be a little bit less. But anyway, this is Invisible No More. This is the safest place on the internet for somebody that's dealing with chronic pain, mental health issues, and or chronic illnesses. Chronic pain can be any type of source. Mine is pretty much all back caused chronic illness, EDS, POTS, any kind of gastro, you name it. It runs the whole gamut. Mental health, bipolar, depression. I think whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of us chronic pain folks deal with the mental health struggles too. It's tough. It's tough not being seen. It's tough when our spouses, our partners, our kids, our moms, our dads don't understand just how bad things are at times. So this is the safest place because anybody you see in the chat, in the messages, myself, we are here. We may not have walked in your exact shoes, but damn it, we've come pretty close. So that's the whole idea. You're seen, you're heard, you're loved, and you know you're not alone. Welcome to Invisible No More. I need to say that tonight's show is brought to you by the Eanes. So if you've seen me from TikTok, you know what I'm talking about. It's brought to you by the Eanes tonight, y'all.
The Eanes?
The Eanes, I-N-E-S.
I-N-E-S, okay.
Yeah. Caffeine, nicotine, and ketamine.
That's good.
That's what's running me tonight, y'all. That is what's running me tonight. So the topic tonight kind of falls into testing. Not about everybody, I believe, from Dr. Leek on Dr. Dustin, as well as Jose, Baseball Strong, and Katie last night. Tests came into play. But for an invisible test they can be a gut punch, So tonight's talk is going to be really about when the doctor comes in and they're excited to tell you that your tests come back normal. And for an invisible, sometimes it is the worst pain that we could ever get. And we're going to get into that. I think tonight will be a lot of validation. I think tonight with some of the stories from other invisibles that I'm going to get to share, you'll see that maybe they didn't walk in your shoes, but they were walking pretty darn close to you because they've lived it too. We're going to get into some things we can talk to doctors about or bring up to doctors if they say there's nothing they can do because our test came back clean. And then we're going to also get a little bit into diagnoses and how important those can be to somebody that's whose tests come back clean. Before I do that, though, I'm going to read off the cards, something that I want you to keep in mind about yourself as we talk about this stuff. These are kind of like what I set tonight up through. This is the lens that I look through. There's a couple of things here. Number one, I'm going to read it because I don't want to screw it up. Normal tests don't mean your experience is normal, and they don't mean your story is over. Meaning, a test can come back looking clean. Yeah, you're back. You're fine. You don't have any tests that are looking bad. That doesn't invalidate your lived experience of having pain in your back. Does that make sense? And I guess the core message out of tonight is your pain is real, or your diagnosis or your issue, your GI issue, your POTS, your EDS is real. Your suffering is real. A normal test result does not erase your lived experience. You deserve to be seen, believed. You deserve treatment. You don't deserve to be discarded. Well, there's nothing I can do. Your tests are clean. So remember that. We live that. We live the depression, we live the sadness, we live the experience of these clean tests and how they can truly impact us. But I want to bring up something real quick before we get into all this, something that Dr. Leek said on Monday. He talked about normal tests. And one of the big takeaways I took from that, and actually, y'all, if you've seen some of my social media posts, I actually slept through like 2.5 hours of CT scans and MRIs. I haven't gotten the results yet. I won't get them till next Tuesday. So I'm dealing with this right now. But then, so this really hit me hard when he said this. He talked about how a normal MRI, how an MRI can be normal, and there can still be back pain. And an MRI can be abnormal, can show all sorts of screwed up things, and the person doesn't have any complaints at all. They're fine. So while we desperately at times want our test to show something, that they don't always have to. And we can still be experiencing what we're experiencing. Normal tests do not equal a normal life. Normal tests are often treated like a finish line, but for all patients like us, unfortunately, they turn out to be just the start of confusion. What's next? What do we do now? How to explain to my partner when I get home, the test came back clean, but I'm hurting really bad, or my stomach is still jacked up, or I can't control my heart rate. The impact of being told nothing is wrong when you're suffering, it's almost like a form of gaslighting in a way, but it also brings in self-doubt. You know something is wrong because you're living it. You know a heart rate shouldn't shoot up like that. You know that, that getting out of bed shouldn't take your partner and your kids all together to pull you out of bed because it hurts so bad to get out of bed. But yet that test is normal. And it also hits hard because it's an authority figure, right? As much as I love Dr. Leek, he's a great guy. He's a great human, or any doctor. When they walk into that exam room, they are an authority figure because they went to school to study this. And so when they tell us our tests are normal and they can't do anything for us, they have all this training and all we have lived experience. So it causes this mass confusion in our brains. And it just hurts. It's just like this massive internal conflict that goes on that we're constantly fighting. But we need to go back to what Dr. Leek said on Monday. A normal test, a test can be normal, but the pain can be real. A test can be massively abnormal and there can be no pain. There can be no illness. And that's such a hard thing for me to wrap my head around because I've had doctors tell me, I can't help you. Your thoracic scan came back clean. I don't know what's causing your pain, but it's not your back. And then they send you on your way, right? And with that authority type that's implied, that's respected, it really just kind of brings a lot of tension, right? We're trained, we're told to always trust our doctors. But when a bad doctor comes in and says, hey, your test is normal and we're experiencing what we're experiencing, does that erode the trust that we're supposed to place in that doctor? I don't know how it doesn't, especially when they say they can't help you, because it's defeating. It's almost like sometimes when we get these test results back and they're normal, they're clear, it's like my body is broken in a way that medicine can't see. And that hurts. And we'll get into a little bit here shortly about it. What actually has a name for it, where it's weird as an invisible. We're disappointed when it comes back. Anyway, we'll get into that. There has a whole name to it, and we'll get into that. But when they come back normal, oftentimes we get stuck in a limbo, right? We're too sick to do the things we want to do, work, play, but we're too healthy due to normal test results to get any help. Is any of this ringing any bells? If you guys have lived through some of this, if you can say stuff and let me know in the comments if I'm way off topic. I don't think I am. I've talked to thousands of invisible patients who this is what they're telling me. These are their lived experiences. And I want to share them tonight because I want you to have some validation that you're not the only one. We're blessed that there are really good doctors out there. That they don't have to be unicorns or a unicorn's unicorn. They can just be good. That when we get test results back that are normal, they'll still at least treat what's going on, treat the symptoms, right? But unfortunately, so many of us are running into buzzsaws. We've been trained that a normal test result is the last thing that we want. I mean, part of us we're relieved that nothing serious shows up. It's called the relief grief paradox. Simply meaning we're relieved that nothing serious showed up, but we're also just devastated. Because if at least something showed up, I'd have an answer. I'd have a game plan. I'd have a way to treat what's wrong. I'd have a name for it. And when nothing shows up, it creates this guilt almost sometimes. Why am I so upset that my MRI didn't show that I have cancer or MS or scoliosis or a pinched nerve? Because as a human, we don't want these scans to show that. But our brains have taught, and previous bad experience have taught us that we have to have that. I was sharing earlier, we had a meeting tonight about a big fear with people who are on disability, SSI, that it took years for them to finally get approved for disability. And it's not a lot, right? It's 900 and change take home, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But we finally got it because we can't work, we can't produce due to whatever's wrong with us. It's a chronic pain issue or it's a chronic illness. And every year almost, excuse me, sorry about that. Every year or so, a lot of us will get letters from SSI saying they're going to review our case. And the fear that gets put into people's hearts because they know they have a clean scan or they have tests that come back normal. Even if we have a great doc, they're going to put in our charts and our files what's wrong with us, what they're treating and everything. But what's Social Security going to say when we have that clean test or we have that clean MRI, right? It's a big fear that normal people don't have because it's just one more hurdle, right? It's like without something showing up on a test, a lot of people explain it like they're waiting for permission to be sick enough to be believed. I read that and it just hurt when that person sent that. How sick do we have to be believed? And we get discounted by buzzsaws. And I'm not saying every doctor is a buzzsaw. There are good doctors out there, but I'm just sharing lived experiences from people that have sent me messages or that I've talked to. So what can we do when we have I'm going to be polite. I'm not going to say buzzsaw anymore. Do you know what we described buzzsaw last time, didn't we?
I was going to ask about that. Yeah. I remember you mentioned or touched up on it.
Buzzsaw is kind of a term that came up for bad or non-ethical doctors. That doctors that have their own agendas. Doctors that only see one thing as a fix instead of offering multiple different treatment plans.
Right.
Or they'll get this test result and say, well, your scan came back clean. You don't have back pain. There's no nerves being pinched. And then they'll cut you loose.
Wow.
So I want people to keep in mind, though, that even when we have good doctors, it's going to feel at times like gaslighting. They're going to try to reassure us that, hey, your scan's clean, but we're still going to treat these symptoms. But at the same time, some of the things they may say accidentally are going to kind of go against our own lived experiences. We talked last time about giving doctors grace, and that's an opportunity to give them grace. If you have a good doctor and you feel slighted when they're like, oh, your scan came back clean, and they're all excited and everything, instead of knowing how you're devastated by it. Don't take it like they're intentionally trying to be super positive. Because remember, they know the diseases, they know the causes, they know how to treat us, but they're not living you. They haven't been in your skin. So there might be some gaslighting going on, but try to show grace.
Right.
Because this is not going to be intentional, right? Kind of an example, when I was putting all this stuff together, we have great people with Invisible, because y'all know it's not just me. It's Amy, right? Amy does her lives on TikTok on Tuesday, 7:00. Amy and I did lives for a year on Thursday nights before we brought Invisible here. I'm going to mention her name, even though she doesn't want me to. There's Kate Bakes on TikTok.
How's it going out there, Kate?
Kate's a rock star, man. If you had a clue of what she's been through in the last 24, the nightmare she's been through in the last 24 hours, oh my God. And the fact that she's here, I love Kate.
I was going to say, yeah, appreciate having you.
And she's an excellent,
you rock.
She's an excellent cook too. She sends treats really well. And then we have Jennifer, and Jennifer unfortunately had to leave her position where she was due to her illnesses and her pain. But she was a project manager. So I'll send Jennifer these notes. I put a presentation together for tonight, and I sent it to her. And I'm like, hey, can you go through this for me? Can you look at this? What are besides typos, besides, punctuation, what do you think? And of course it comes back and all the punctuation's fixed and all the typos are done, right? And she sent a little message. She's like, hey, some of the stuff, I added some personal stories to it, if that's all right. So I have permission to share this from, if you're on TikTok, you may hear me refer to her as producer Jennifer, because that's what she is. She's our producer. So Jennifer's personal example, she said, for me, it wasn't one appointment where I walked out thinking I was crazy. It was the accumulation of appointment after appointment where nothing was explained. My internal voice started asking, what's wrong with my body and why can't I handle this like other people? That's what happens when we're gaslit. That's what happens when I can't treat you. That's what happens. Well, we're not going to treat the symptom anymore because nothing's showing, right? What's wrong with my body? And it's devastating. That's why, as Invisible, we try to get people to have good relationships with their doctors and have conversations with their doctors and let the doctors know what their situation, what their diagnosis causes them, how it impacts their quality of life. Because the idea behind sharing that information is you're putting your personal life in front of them. I hate the 1 to 10 pain scale. I hate it. And I know a lot of doctors hate it too, but they have to use it for different regulations, right? I think if we go in and we focus on quality of life with our doctors, Jennifer's example there, the opportunity for that to happen lessens. Another more side effects and more things that can happen with these dismissive doctors is when we're told that our scans are clear and that there's nothing they can do. What happens when we get home and we have to face our kids or our partner or our friends that, you go to church and how are you? And you, when you're told there's nothing wrong with you, you can't explain your limitations. You can't explain to them why, going out to lunch after church isn't going to happen because sitting in the pews for an hour and a half is all your back can handle or all your gut can handle for that day. Another thing that happens is friends and family lose patience. As an Invisible, this is kind of off topic, but I want to kind of expand on this. As Invisible, before we get hurt or we get sick, our circle is like this. And then as our issues start, our pain, our POTS, our EDS, where we can't go out and do things, that circle gets like this. And without a diagnosis or without these scans that show something, we're doing less, we're less active, we're not sending people messages, we're internalizing a lot more, that circle gets really close and really limited. And it hurts when we get these positive scans, when our family members look at us like, well, why do you need pain meds? The scans show you're fine. You don't have MG. I can't pronounce it. Everybody in the comments probably know myasthenia gravis. It's devastating.
I've been struggling with the words on this show too.
It's an autoimmune disease.
Wow.
And like Valerie, she has all the markers, like the droopy eyelids, the imbalance, the lack of energy, the double vision. Like double vision will start with Valerie around 10 o'clock in the morning, right? And it's true double vision. Can't drive, can't really see the TV. Everything's based on sound, what she hears, right? But she doesn't have the marker in the specific test. Right? So she's blessed that her neurologist is treating the symptoms, but she's missing that one piece.
Right.
And so that causes doubt in the people that we really need to have our back. And it's like, again, like the pain patient, why are you taking pain meds? Your scans came back fine. There's nothing wrong with your back. There's nothing wrong with your leg. There's nothing wrong with your ribs. Yeah, just put some ice on it. Get a heat pack,
Some Robitussin.
Yeah, and it's difficult. It's difficult. And again, we just continue to withdraw because, and then the invisibility becomes even more invisible because we're pulling ourselves back and we're masking a lot more to hide what's going on. We're masking to hide the GI issues. We're masking to hide the pain. Somebody with a autoimmune or a GI issue, you'll go to a restaurant and you'll watch people eat because you can't eat like that. But you crave being around people, but it gets to the point that you just can't do that anymore. Right? So without those scans, without those tests, you tell them what you have, and it's like, it's more difficult to convince people that we're there. Right? Because there's no proof. It really hits. I've talked to so many people that they lose, I guess, productivity. And I know that 75 TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and everybody else tells me 75% of my audience is female. And everything that I've done, I can't break that. But it tracks into the chronic pain community and the chronic illness community. 75% of those communities are female. But one thing that's for men, when we are hurt or we're sick, a lot of us, the Generation Xers, man, we're taught you take care of that family come hell or high water. You go to work no matter what. And you find out that you can't. And you have to survive on $900 a month. That's a hit to your psyche. That's a hit to everything, every moral, everything you were taught as a kid. Right? People also tell me that if they're told that there's not doctors, buzzsaws tell them that I'm not sick, that they're not sick. People are thinking I'm not sick, but I can't function. I must just be lazy. I'm just broken, which brings shame because we feel we did something wrong when we didn't do a damn thing wrong. It's our body that's failing us. And again, I'm bringing these stories up because these were stories that were shared with me, and I want people to take away validation tonight. I want you to know that others have walked in your shoes, that you're not alone. That's one of the big things about Invisible. You're seen, you're heard, you're loved, you're not alone. So if any of these stories are ringing any bells with you guys, please keep them in the comments. Keep them coming. And Kevin, or they'll let me know.
I'm watching them flood in.
So, and I talked earlier about the invisible communities made up of people with chronic illnesses, chronic pain, and mental health struggles. And I said, my firm belief, and I haven't done search for studies, If you're dealing with a chronic illness or you're dealing with chronic pain, you are going to have some mental health issues. Depression is going to be there. And like Katie and Dr. Leek talked about, the mental aspect impacts our illness. I live it. If something goes wrong in my life and my depression kicks in, my pain goes through the roof. And I have a really good pain plan going on right now. But when that depression hits, I could have whatever on the planet and nothing is going to be able to tackle all that pain. So that's what happens when we get gaslit and we get blown off. Consequences, again, depression, desperation. Each normal result feels like another door slamming. But here's the thing. And this is what I love about Invisible. This is what I love about the community that you all built. Because if you're here tonight, you know I did not set out to start a community. You know Amy didn't set out to start a community. In fact, when I asked Amy about co-hosting the lives, she didn't want to right away. Who would want to hear my story? But now we all love Amy and we love her stories and we love what we share, right? And what we've built here is a community that shares tips and ideas that have worked for us. And what we've proven is we can take somebody that deals with a chronic illness and how they started to repair their relationship with their spouse. And I had a lady on a live in the comments typing, I followed this person's advice and I deal with chronic pain. I have nothing close to their illness, but I took their tips and my relationship with my partner is getting stronger now too. So there's consequences. We get desperate. We seek answers. But what we do in Invisible, though, is we keep going. We can't give up because our situation, our lived experience is real. We hang out with each other in lives. We check on each other through instant messages or text messages, right? As bad as it sucks, as a group, we lean forward. Somebody I know and who's near and dear to my heart was in the hospital last night. And I'm getting messages from other people that had found out. They're like, yeah, I'm not even religious anymore, but I went and lit a candle because of what's going on with them. This community shares love. This community shares tips. This community shares empathy and compassion on a real level. Because as a group, we want each other to be better. And I know tonight, me sharing these stories to get valid, so people can feel validated. It's tough. I get it. I totally understand it. It's depressing and it's sad. But my focus tonight is to let people know they're not alone. And that's why I want to share these stories and why I feel it's important. And I get a platform to do it. And I get to get these people's stories out. And I think that's important as well.
You know, Jennifer just brought up a good point. She was like, don't forget about the significant financial impact.
Yeah, that's
chronic illness. Oh, man.
Dude, that's the next card.
Yeah. Oh, she's 2 steps ahead of you on this. She's right.
Is.
It's life altering.
It is. Being sick isn't cheap. It's not only is it physically draining, it's financially devastating. And then you add in all the medical bills, the medications, therapies, lost income. Know somebody that has one script with insurance is $300 a month.
Jeez.
And they're on SSI. They're bringing in like $1,100 a month. So one script is taking $300 out of the $1,100 because they can't work, not with their condition, right? And we're going to get into diagnoses here at the end. We can't get disability or accommodations at a job without that damn diagnosis.
Right. So it follows you.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of times insurance companies won't cover things either without a diagnosis. You got to have a billing code.
Right.
What did the doctor see you for today? Upset stomach because you have a GI issue? They're not going to buy that. Right. They're not going to, it has to have a name attached to it. So when we're told that our tests are normal and we have the buzzsaw doctors and we get sent on our way, we have this mental kick. We have kicks to very painful parts of our bodies. This is just some of what examples of what happens to people when they get done. Then you put in the financial. Then you have to, if you're on disability, then you're worried it's going to get taken away because everything's clear now, everything's fine now. Sure, go back to work.
You know what that turns into?
Depression.
A buzzsaw.
Yeah.
I get it now.
You know,
it's appropriate.
Yeah, you get cut in half. You walk in bad, and then you leave that exam room, and you're
even worse.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. In all these examples, this happens to people. And again, I'm sorry I'm sharing sad ones tonight, y'all. We'll get to victories. We still have time for victories, but I want to share these because I want people to know they're not alone. So when your doctor says your tests are normal, when Mr. Buzzsaw or Mrs. Buzzsaw says, congratulations, your tests are normal, go have a good life. What can we reply back to them? Politely, giving grace. What diagnosis would explain these symptoms? Ask the question. Make them think. What would be your next step if this continues or worsens? Because you live it, you know it's going to continue. Worsening is a nightmare. Ask them, can we document the systems that are here despite the normal results? Request that they get documented. Do it in not a confrontational way. Do it in, just to kind of cover everybody. Can you put it in my file that this test came back normal, but I'm still experiencing this? If a provider's curious and they're still willing to talk to you and they're still willing to treat the symptoms, obviously stay with them. But if they're dismissive, you have enough battles to fight with the energy in your body. Use that energy to go to see what you can do about finding another caretaker.
Right.
Because you've hit a brick wall. You've hit a buzzsaw. You don't need to go back to them. When you leave that office, stop at the counter and say, what do I have to do to get my medical records? Start the process. Right? And it brings up, go get a second opinion. And I have a feeling there's going to be a podcast version that's going to be like an hour and a half long between myself and a certain medical professional talking about doctor shopping, because a lot of people see, I can't go get a second opinion because it's doctor shopping. Forget that. Lauren, Snarky Pharmacist, had a huge victory at the company she works for. She sat through a presentation in pharmaceutical business is what she's in, and they talked about patients doctor shopping, and Lauren is a chronic pain patient. She deals with CRPS. I think she's had 18 surgeries on her foot.
Wow. And
after the presentation, if you don't know, she emailed the people that put the presentation on, and she's like, you guys kept her saying the term doctor shopping. People are doctor shopping all over the place. No, thinking that all these people are going to get meds. All they want is meds. She's like, we're not. We're just going to get better care. And they cited studies from the early 2000s, and she's bringing up studies from current. She's like, the information you have, yes, for people that are doing that, but it's getting lesser and lesser due to regulations, due to meds being tracked, due to patients being tracked. That's becoming a smaller part. And as you may or may not know, she ended up getting in charge with the upper management of her company. So there will be no more presentations using the term doctor shopping. Doctor shopping has been removed from their company's dialogue.
Wow.
I believe they're calling it either physician cycling or pharmacy cycling. People going through cycles to get the one thing that they want. But they're going to start dividing those people away from the vast majority of pain patients who are just seeking care. But we have to be the ones that go out and get the second opinions. Don't take meds from them if you don't trust them. If they're like, oh, well, do you need meds? I'll write you a script. If you don't have a good feeling about them, don't take meds. will be doctor cycling or med
Yeah,
cycling,
I'm
right?
curious. Second opinion, is that also considered cycling? Is that some of the
No, well, that's the
definition they throw in
problem.
there?
That's the problem is if you go for a second opinion, you automatically get labeled as doctor shopping
Wow.
because they assume you're going to go to another doctor because you want meds. That's what's automatically assumed. When that's not necessarily the case. In the vast majority, it's not. We just have a buzzsaw that we're trying to get away from. And that's going to be a really good conversation when this person and I sit down. I don't know when we're going to do it, but I'm looking forward to it because this person has lived experience in the medical field and has a valid reason to use the term doctor shopping. And I hate that. I see it as stigmatizing and derogatory. And I have lived experience with it on my point of view. So I can't wait to sit down,
Sure.
put a table between us, right? No fist fights, no nothing, no throwing, no nothing on the tables. We can't throw anything at each other, right? But it's going to be a good conversation whenever we can get it.
I can't wait.
Scheduled.
I can't wait.
Some things I would do if you have a good doctor who is considering to continue treating your symptoms, start tracking them. What I did when I was fighting this migraine stuff was I used Grok, and Grok is just it's like Elon Musk's version of AI. You can use whatever you're comfortable with, okay? And I started a conversation with it, and I said, I need to document these migraines, the level of intensity, the dates I have them, any events that day that may or may not have triggered them, did I do anything, how I slept every night. And if I don't give you all of those, you need to call me out on it so we can make sure we're going to track this for 30 days. And I was faithful with it. Even if I didn't have a migraine, I would get on and say, okay, today's day number 17. I did not have a migraine today. Today was a good pain day. On and on and on. And when I got done, I copied it, put it in Apple Notes on my phone, and printed it. And I took it and brought it in. I go, this is my 30 days right here. Because my doctor and I could not figure these migraines out at all. I'd seen neurologists. I'd seen other specialists, and we couldn't figure it out. So at least he had an idea of what my life was like, right? To help him come up with new or different meds to try on me. Doctors tend to look for patterns, or they think in patterns. And those logs, having AI or another type, you can do your own diary, will show them patterns that we may not be seeing. So if they're willing to work with you or possibly work with you, say, hey, I'll track myself for the next 30 days. If you can treat my symptoms today, I'll bring in a log, I'll bring in a notebook, and you can read what's been going on in my life to see what may be happening. Track the date, the severity, possible triggers, the impact that migraine had on you, right? And even if they are dismissive, and you want to start looking for another care team. Start building that team anyway. Focus on quality of life when you're talking to these new doctors. My tests are clear, but my quality of life is crap. When you talk to these new doctors, instead of saying nothing's wrong, everybody tells me nothing's wrong. No, we don't know yet. Phrase it as we don't know yet.
I like how that sounds.
Right?
That's future forward.
That's right. And when you say nothing's wrong, to me, that's finality. That's final. Right? There's no reason to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Cured,
or at least solved.
Yeah. But if we say we don't know yet, to me, that's more open-ended.
Mm-hmm. It's a continued search.
It's a continued thing that goes on. Right? Again, subtle little changes, right? It's like we don't ask, I can't say this. I can say, I recommend do not ask your doctor, whether it's your PCP, your specialist, your shrink, your therapist, don't ask them yes or no questions. Ask questions that force them to think, because it's so easy to default to no. Med increase, trying a different treatment, whatever it is, it's easy to default to no. But if you ask an open-ended question where they have to think, the answer may still be no, but they have to justify it. And again, a buzzsaw is going to tell you, no, I'm not going to have time. Just trust me. It's no. I know what I'm talking about. How many of y'all put it in the comments? Have you met God in an exam room? Mm-hmm. Because some of these buzzsaws really think they're God, and you can't question, right? So if you bring to them, we don't know what it is yet, they're going to tell you, oh, there's just nothing wrong. Well, there you go. That's your clue, right? You hand him his sign, which is I'm not going to do it. And you just walk out.
Wow.
And you realize this isn't the guy for me or the lady for me. All of this brings into something that's so important to an invisible. Making sure I'm not showing the logo.
Sure.
The term diagnosis, and why does it matter? To me, it's golden. To me, a diagnosis, even matched with a clear test or a normal test, that diagnosis, as much as I hate diagnoses, I don't want another diagnosis. I have enough of them. It's the last thing I want. But mentally, up here, I need the diagnosis because it's a psychological anchor. It gives me, it doesn't create illness, it names it. At 2:00 in the morning, when my legs, my thighs are just aching intensely, I can yell at the neuropathy that is going crazy in the nerves, that the nerves are misfiring, that it's not just in my brain, that I'm not just crazy, that my leg, that's just my thighs from my groins to the top of my knees. The deep bone ache I get is incredible, but I can yell at it because I know what's causing it, because I have the diagnosis. Not having a diagnosis just keeps us in self-doubt. Even if it's just you're saying, I think I have, or I think I might have, or I might be dealing with, all the way to, am I crazy because my thighs are aching like this and there's nothing that shows why it should.
I think that would drive you nuts just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably be trying to figure out, or at least confirm that I'm not crazy as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that goes back to the test is normal.
Mm-hmm.
Val's test didn't have the marker for myasthenia gravis, but she checks every other box.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Jennifer made a good point earlier. She was saying when you really look at the life of a chronic pain patient, this is a full-time job.
Oh, hell yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, you're scheduling meds, you're scheduling appointments, you're having to plan your trip to the grocery store correctly, so you're not spending. You don't end up in the sour cream aisle when you needed tomato soup, because that means you got to walk all the way back to the tomato soup aisle.
Yeah, you're mapping steps.
You're mapping which side of the store am I going? Am I parking at?
Right.
Which side of the store am I going into? Where am I going to come out at? Which is the best checkhouse for me to come? And you're hitting the aisles, right? It's the map. I love HEB. I hate HEB because it's always so busy, but their app is golden because I type in what we're getting and I hit boom, and it tells me start here, and it'll map me through the entire store, so I don't have to keep backtracking.
Right.
So, but that's just part of a full-time job. Normal people, it's not a big deal. I forgot toilet paper. I'm going to walk way back across the store to get toilet. It's not a big deal. For me, do I really need toilet paper, or can I get another week?
Right.
Right. Because I ain't going back
over
over
extra steps. Oh yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
A diagnosis also gives you, it's a relief when you find your community, because you can search TikTok, you can search Facebook, you can search Google for support groups for myasthenia gravis, for EDS, for POTS, or for neuropathy, or for radiculopathy, right? It makes it easier to find your community because you have that, because you are told what to look for. Even though everybody's welcome and invisible, because you don't need a damn diagnosis to be here. Are you hurting? Do you feel like crap? Do you feel left on? Do people not believe you? That's what we're here for.
That's a pretty good pitch.
You know, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And another thing I think a diagnosis does is it gives us, for somehow or another, it gives us a leg up when we start advocating for ourselves. Because we do start talking to other people. We talk to people in Invisible that deal with MG or deal with neuropathy and find out what they're using that works. I would have never in a million years thought that capsaicin would help my neuropathy. But I can guarantee you when I get home tonight, get the dogs out, get the dogs fed, all that stuff, once they're done, I'm in shorts and I am coating myself with capsaicin. That's me. I'm not recommending that for anybody else. That is definitely not medical advice for anybody. But for me, that's 30 minutes of relief. Mm-hmm. I smell minty fresh because it stinks. Dogs won't come near me. But that's 30 minutes of relief.
Right.
But I never would have tried it. Never in a million years. But I thought basically a hot pepper is going to take away the pain. That's really what it is. Doesn't make sense in my head why, but I don't really care.
I don't blame you.
You know? So before we get to victories, I think we're about 10 till. Is that about?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want to say this one more time because I want to make sure everybody understands it. Normal tests don't mean your experience is normal. Normal tests do not mean that your experience is normal and that your story is over. And remember, your issue is real. Your blood pressure, your gastro problem, your pain is real. You live it every single day. A normal test result doesn't erase your lived experience. A normal test result does not erase the struggle it is to get out of bed because your back feels like it's locked up and you can't move. You can't take that away from you. You deserve to be believed. You deserve treatment even without a diagnosis. You do not deserve to be discarded. That's my core message tonight.
I have a big question about the core message. Mm-hmm. Something that I've been seeing throughout the week. Constant and consistent, one, advocating for solutions that can be taken upon, whether it's moving, what was yesterday, microbiome.
Yeah.
And even for today. Dr. Leak was saying at one point, getting I think it was like the DEA out of medicine or the pharmaceutical, or I'm sorry, the insurance companies out of medicine, one of those.
Okay. DEA.
Gotcha.
He may not have said that. That's what I say, but yeah.
Gotcha. Well, what do you see from a practical standpoint as far as like, is it a political movement where smaller groups have to come together, form a larger group, and do some real petitioning for change?
I don't know if we're ever going to defeat the lobbyist money. Lobbyists have a lot, and industries have a lot of money to influence politicians.
Right.
I think Invisible, what we try to do is I'm going to say this, and I'm still going to get busted for it. On a personal level, we try to find the rules to the game. Because if you know the rules, you can play the game.
You bend them too, correct.
Right. You learn what the gray area is.
Correct.
Right. When we lived in Las Vegas and we had the homeless outreach, we lived and died in the gray area. I studied every law there was about being homeless in Las Vegas and in the state of Nevada and federal regulations. And we lived in the fringe. So when the cops came to us and told us we couldn't do what we were doing, I'm like, what's the statute? What's the city ordinance? Which one am I breaking? Well, technically you're not. I'll go, technically I'm not doing anything wrong.
And technically you need to
have a nice day.
Right.
And it would make them mad. Well, we're going to come back next week. Okay, I'll be here. What kind of coffee you like? I'll make sure I have it for you, you know? So I think we have to know the rules.
Gotcha.
So once we know the rules, we can play the game. And you have to know your care team. You have to know how to approach your care team. And then you don't know that unless you're able to develop a conversation. You don't know that until they know that you have 3 kids at home that are holy terrors, that you're having to deal with. They don't know that you're carrying a lot of stress because your relationship's on the rocks. They don't know that your furnace went out and you just had to spend $2,000, which was going to your kids' summer camp, is now spent because you had to buy a new furnace, and the stress at that. Where are you going to come up with money to send the kid to camp? They need to know that you have a life besides your pain and how your life is impacting your pain or your GI or your POTS or your EDS.
And all the other additional steps that you're using to try and fix it.
Yeah. So I don't think Invisible is ever going to get super political, but I think we're going to focus on the rules of what we're given and figure out how we can get the best care we can get by playing that gray area, by letting the doctors know who we are. I think that's the key, is that relationship with your care team. My previous doctor, I almost said his name. I'm not supposed to say his name. I couldn't do that. He didn't care. He was God. Right? But that's why I'm not there anymore. I interviewed numerous doctors, 3, I think I was. And some of them offered me a script, and I had to walk away. I went without pain meds because I did not want to take a script from one of those doctors because I did not have a good feeling. Yeah, I was hurting like a mofo, and that would have been massive relief. But I knew there was no way I was going to be able to explain to him, hey, we just lost one of our dogs last week, man. I am heartbroken over it. And it's got me all jacked up in my head, and I think that's what's driving my pain being. They wouldn't have cared, just like my last doctor wouldn't have cared about that. My current doctor wouldn't care unless he knew what was going on in my life. Does that make sense?
It does. No, it really does. It really does. You got to open your mouth and talk. There's got to be a way to communicate whatever's going on.
We're going to be asked that 1 to 10, what's your pain?
Right.
Everybody's going to ask that. They need that number.
And then what is that based on?
Yeah. My 8 is different than your 8. Mm-hmm. Guarantee it. It's different than my doctor's 8. Different than the tech's 8. Different than the cashier at HEB's 8. Everybody's different. I can function at a 7. Function better than I'm proving that right now, I think. Unless it's really sucking tonight. If it's sucking, I'm sorry. So mine's different than yours. But we need to give that number to the doctor, but then we say, but this is what's going on. This is what's being limited, what I can and can't do right now since the last time you saw me.
You know what? Tara just brought up something which is pretty interesting and good timing too. She says here it's going to take a breakdown of the current system, more doctors stepping out of the insurance model to force change, patients dropping insurance and paying cash for services.
Yeah. I agree 110% with that. I do, and it sucks because there's going to have to be a figure. I hate to use this term, but a point of pain. How much can I afford to go see the doctor to get the care I need?
Not just that, it's almost like shifting pain to the insurance companies that are supposed to be in charge of protecting you from the pain.
Yeah. And
when they start to feel the pain that you're feeling, now they get it.
Yeah. Instead of getting $35 million bonuses for rejecting 80% of the initial claims.
Right.
Hoping people give up.
Interesting.
But yeah, Tara's right. And Tara's she's a pain freaking warrior. Her story is just incredible. She came on, we used to do on Thursday nights, and we would have pain patients or people with invisibles come on and share their story. And Tara's got a good story. Sad story, but she's doing well now. So, but yeah, I think that's a key. If we could find doctors that we could afford to go to and pay cash, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But can doctors afford? That's the question.
Right.
So many of us are on disability, and Medicare or Medicaid pays the bill, right? Because if it's $100 to go see your doctor, then you don't have insurance for the meds. That's another $75. So you're $175 out of pocket versus.
That racks quick.
That goes back to what we were discussing earlier, the financial side of it. But I think you'll get better care because the only people the doctor's answering to then is the state and the feds. They don't have to answer to the insurance company. you know, but I'd love to see that happen, you know. But right now, my meds aren't covered by insurance. My pain meds aren't covered. So, um,
Wow. Someone in the chat was billed an enormous amount of money going to the ER before the Affordable Care Act
yeah.
for just food poisoning.
Mm-hmm. Valerie,
God bless you.
she just got a bill for 4 or 5 days. She was intubated for 4 days. The total of the bill was $130,000.
Wow.
Insurance or Medicaid paid 22, and then they wrote the rest off. But I guarantee you, if you walked in there with no insurance, that hospital will come after you for the 133 because you didn't negotiate a rate before you got there.
Right.
That hospital in particular is terrible. So
I just got one extra question.
yeah,
And maybe you guys in the chat, you guys can help me out with this one. And I'm trying to recap. If you guys have been following along throughout the week, Lugnut, I see you're one that's a regular. And by the way, too, you guys are like our A1 day ones. So as this grows, I hope to call you out and send you shout outs on a regular basis. But for the few of us in here, I'm trying to hold on to at least one word or a very short 2-3 word takeaway from each show. So I remember Dr. Leak, he had a whole lot to present with these studies. But let me see. Jose's was move. Move, move, move. No matter what you're doing, move. Last night with Katie, hers was microbiome, if anyone remembers that. Can anyone throw in the chat a one word or small phrase that represents tonight? What do we got? I see we got you, Kevin. Send it, send it to charity. Yeah. Anything, a one word phrase that represents tonight. Or, I'm sorry, one word or small phrase. Be heard. How's that sound?
normal is okay.
Normal is okay. Normal is okay. What do you guys think about that? Normal is okay. 1 in the chat for those of you that like it. 2 if we need to keep shopping.
Because that's the mind switch I'm having to make right now as I get prepared to get my results. And that's the mind switch that Val had to make. And that's the mind switch so many people have to make is I don't have to have a terrible MRI because I can still get my symptoms taken care of.
Normal is a spectrum.
I like that one too.
I do too. Be believed.
Yeah. Yeah. Diagnosis equals validation. That's a good one too.
Yeah. Diagnosis doesn't create illness, it names it.
Yep.
These are some really good ones. Really good ones. I don't know. What's your vote?
I kind of like normal as a spectrum.
I like that one too. I'm kind of sticking with that one as well.
I think that I like mine better, but I can go with normal as a spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, because it is an incredibly tough mind switch that I'm on. To be honest with you, I'm still dealing with. It's going to be okay if my test results come back normal.
Right.
And I'm just reminding myself, I know what it took to get out of bed this morning. I know how my thighs felt last night. That's not fake. I know what the EMG test did to me. Mm-hmm. I woke up half a Waxahachie when they did that to me. God, that was hellacious. So I know that. And so if it comes back clear, it comes back clear.
We got Kate for the win in the chat.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. You guys are really cool.
Yep. Does anybody have any victories tonight? Does anybody besides Kate
victory
have
time.
any victories?
Victory time.
I don't care if it's you got a shower this week. I don't care if it's you found your car keys that you lost yesterday. I don't care if it's, you even got out of bed this morning, or maybe you found your unicorn, or you had a good doctor's appointment, or your kids did something. You got to play with the puppy. Can somebody give me one victory? I know one, and they haven't typed it in the computer in the chat yet, and that really makes me a little mad. Judy says, closest thing to a victory for me tonight is I made a human who just received her master's in public health. Holy crap. That's a major victory. You know,
Oh yeah.
that's huge,
Oh yeah.
you know? But it's not any more important than somebody getting a shower today. No offense,
Right.
Judy.
Right.
Because
Right.
for some of us, getting
Small
that shower,
steps are huge.
we can talk one night about all about how the difficulty and the mind screw it is about that showers are. Normal people like I take 2 a day. What's the big deal?
Yeah, Dr. Leek was telling me one time about a skin condition that it feels like pins and needles, even water touching you. So now I can totally understand how even something as simple as a shower, that's a massive win.
I talk about a massive win, Chris. I got approved for disability and don't even know how.
That is a massive win.
Take it and run.
Yeah. And now when you wake up feeling a little bit more refreshed. You were saying
Yes.
earlier that it feels like a ton of bricks on you.
Check this out, Tara. My dad got keys to his apartment. He will have heat and water.
Nice.
Hallelujah. That is awesome. That is awesome. And yes, Judy, you made that person who got that master's. Yeah, and Chris got approved for disability. Geez, that was 2.5 years.
Wow.
When I filed, we lived in Texas when I filed. So the final hearing, my lawyer was in Dallas. I was in Las Vegas. State of Nevada, all disability claims get kicked to California to be handled. California overflowed me to Washington State. So I had a rep from had 2 reps from SSA on Washington State, and the administrative law judge that heard it was in Virginia.
Yeah, that sounds like a very efficient system. It reminds me of that cartoon, I'm Just a Bell. Yeah. But wow, getting juggled all across the country.
Jeez, man.
That's sweet.
That was so awesome. I remember my attorney just telling me, Mr. Johnson, shut up. Mr. Johnson, shut up. Mr. Johnson, shut up. So, but that's massive. That's
huge.
A huge win.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
So Jennifer says, I finally got on a pain plan that works with my body. For the first month, it's a game changer. It took almost 5 years to get there.
Mm. Wow.
And I know that's producer Jennifer, by the way. That's when I was reading the comments.
Gotcha. Nice to meet you over there.
So everybody give producer Jennifer a round of applause for all the work she does for Invisible. And it's not just for me. It's for Amy as well. And the Invisible program they're doing where you can send your email, reach out to Jennifer. Basically, they're collecting specific, like important dates, and then you'll receive a card or you'll receive stickers. One of the popular things I hope to get are the cussing comic books that you can color, but they have adult language in them.
Okay.
They're a riot, Kate or others send out like baked goods, homemade cookies and stuff like that if your diet is okay with it, So message Jennifer about how to get on that list because it's big and it's growing and it's a really cool thing and it's free. It's absolutely free. At Invisible, there's never a Patreon. There's never a fee to do anything that we do. All of our information we have is free. All the videos are up for free. Mm-hmm. All of our time is donated. It's because we just want people to be better, So.
And we do hope you guys highly appreciate it.
I hope you do. I want to say thank you for everybody being here tonight. We actually ran over a little bit. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, the victory's huge. You can't slow that down.
No.
You shouldn't slow that down.
We always got to have victories at the end.
Yeah. And then the information from each of the different perspectives or the different spectrums.
Yep.
To help normalize to help normalize being normal as a spectrum.
Yep, normal's a spectrum. I like that.
Normal's a spectrum.
Kate, Jennifer said Kate really is the brains. She is, That is awesome. Tara said this community saved my life. So grateful.
Yeah.
Tara, you have no idea how many people you inspire every day. Your story is just freaking amazing. You finally, we need I don't know how we're going to get somebody in here to do the interview on them though. But anyway, we'll talk about
Zoom,
that later.
bring them in. There's a lot of ways.
So, all right, I'm going to read this one more time. This main idea, all right, because I want everybody to make sure Normal tests don't mean your experience is normal. Your pain is real. Your suffering is real. Your illness is real. A normal test result doesn't erase your lived experience. You deserve to be believed. You deserve treatment even without a diagnostic label. You do not deserve to be discarded. So, any other crazy comments or questions you guys have, you better get them in quick because we're going to sign off if you don't. Jamie says this community is the light in the darkness. It is. This community saved me too. You know, it's you guys. This is what you guys built. Amy and I may be the idiots that do a lot of talking, but it's your all's community, and you guys take care of each other, and there's nothing better. So, on that note, thank you for joining Invisible No More tonight. My name is Keith Johnson. Oh, at Invisible, y'all, you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, and you will never, ever be alone. Have a good night, and I hope tomorrow is a little bit better for you.